welcome back. It is Innovate Africa time, and as always, it's about innovators who impact lives on the African continent and beyond. Now, one of our very first interviews was with Mark Levitt, the founder of Trickster. We spoke about agents, AI agents, how they all work together, building middleware, backend, and eventually the front end side of things. But the thinking has evolved in a sense. As a matter of fact, I think a better way of putting it is that they're now spinning out some really interesting products. And that is what I want to introduce you to today. Mark Levitt, what a pleasure, Mark. Always great chatting to you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So we're not going to go into the whole Trickster thing. Anybody can search for Trickster and understand what Trickster is all about. But essentially, initially, we spoke about AI agents. We spoke about how coding would evolve, all these sort of things we went into right at the beginning. Where are we today? Because I believe you're bringing out some really interesting products. Take us through that.
Sure. So a lot of businesses recognize that AI is going to help them. They just don't quite know where to start. And so what we're producing is a business operating system, so Trickster OS, which allows a business to encapsulate their team, their systems, their AI agents, everything into one operating system, desktop-based system. And through that, they can actually bring all the different moving parts of the business together in one unified interface, which then allows them to use AI agents more easily inside of their business.
So is this using their own data, plugging into your OS, and your OS in essence helps them analyze that data, mold that data, give them insights, etc. Is that the sort of thing we're talking
It's
about?
kind of like that. I mean, if you talk about data, what's really happening in most businesses, small, medium, even large businesses,
Yeah.
is they have a multiplicity of different systems they're working with, some of them quite disconnected. And each of them has some data in them. So by bringing it all together, we actually give a unified interface across these different systems, where under the hood, we've connected these various systems into one unified system. So they can talk to the system using AI methods. So they don't have to jump in and out of every single system all the time. They can leave those systems alone and actually operate through one interface.
We are going to do an interview once this is all officially launched, right? And what I love about the show is that we don't only talk about things that are currently happening, we're talking about what's on the horizon. And I find what you're doing rather exciting. I want us to dig into it into a little bit more detail without giving away the whole shop, as it were. I remember I spoke to you before this interview and you were talking to me about how people can actually speak to a system and the system could give you insights, for example. So tell me a bit of a story or two about how this system, this operating system, Trickster OS, would potentially work for an SMME or a bigger business, for that matter.
Yeah, sure. So there's the initial setup where you actually speak to an agent. It actually interviews you. It asks you questions about the business. And after about 10 minutes or so, it's got some very deep insights into how your business operates. It then sets up your operating system for you in the cloud, in the D cloud, which I'll come back to. And so now you have a living system that actually has a deep understanding of your business, apart from the fact that it can then integrate all the various parts of your business and bring your whole team in. So you would speak to that system using like text prompting effectively,
Right.
and visualizations of the system. But the actual setup is really interesting because it drives you through a period of discovery about the actual business, and then it models the business. And then as it works with the business, as it reads your website, as it interacts with the people, it just learns more and more about the business. And it actually has deep insights into the business, apart from the fact that you have this interface to everything in the business.
So when people talk about agents and all these sort of things, they think ChatGPT, DeepSeek, Claude, you name it, Claude CLI, whatever. I think that's what it's called. I'm learning.
It is,
that,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
How much of the sort of external data that those systems have been built on gets integrated into this, or is it solely based on what your data is all about, what your business is all about, or is it a mix of both?
It's actually a mix. So it becomes aware of all the systems you bring into the operating system, but it can then go out in the world. I mean, Claude's OpenAI, they have deep insights into many different things. They can reason about the world.
Yeah.
You can bring that reasoning into your business too. You can actually map the value chain of your business and see how all the different moving parts improve the value of your business.
Wow. And then could you plug in external insights, for example? So let's say you're running a business doing X. Kieno's running a business and I'm running a plumbing business. But I've seen other people utilize artificial intelligence, data in a different manner. Could I then pull those sort of things into a Trickster, well, no, I was going to call it a Trickster cloud, but a Trickster OS?
Yeah.
Get to the D cloud, by the way. And would that external data then help improve the intelligence of the system, as it were?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can basically think of the OS as it's your central view into everything that you have, and
Right.
anything you want to introduce can also come into there as well.
Okay.
So you can just grow the insights into this aspect of the business, and it becomes more and more aware of everything, and actually helps you think through the business. You can then map all your internal processes. You can look at what you have now. You can think, where would I like to take my internal business processes? And it'll actually help you do migrations of processes too.
You're going to make me smile, because listening to this makes me think we'll get rid of those consultants. Would you say that this could become a consultant that I can actually trust for my business?
It is a consultant, but our model is actually to work with consultants. I mean,
Okay.
but the consultants can do less because they have more insight themselves into how to work with the business. They can add value. So we're looking at AI consultants and we're looking at human consultants.
Okay. I mean, it's fascinating. So when we talk about the cloud, I mean, the cloud up there in the ether, I mean, still when I think about a cloud, I think about something white and puffy with a lot of data in it, right?
Yeah.
But essentially, cloud systems are centralized. And you spoke about D-Cloud. That gave me a little bit of an insight into, what is this, decentralized cloud system that you're creating? Or
Yeah.
am I missing the boat on that?
No, absolutely. So, so Trickster allows you to build your own OS platform. It operates in the cloud, but Trickster is a decentralized architecture.
Right.
So your platform is actually decoupled from other platforms. It can interoperate with platforms, but it is separate.
Okay.
It's separate from us too. So Trickster, there's no central Trickster like a normal, like Salesforce. There's a central Salesforce system that you work within. This is a totally decoupled system. You are working in a decentralized way. So the question is, where do you host your platform? If you choose to, you can choose to host it on premises. You can choose to host it in the cloud.
Cool.
But we're actually setting up D-Cloud. And D-Cloud is a decentralized physical infrastructure network, otherwise known as DPIN, which is emerged in the crypto world. So that's where third parties offer the hardware to allow you to run the actual compute of your business and your business OS.
Right.
And so we are bringing in third-party providers of what's called nodes, hardware nodes that allow you to operate your business. So they're bringing in lots of machines with CPUs and GPUs. And by allowing other people to bring the hardware, we don't have the capital cost of building a network of any size. So right now there's a huge complexity in the world because the large providers have to build Manhattan-sized data centers.
Yeah.
But we can build a Manhattan-sized data center, depending on the number of customers we end up with, by literally outsourcing the hardware to node providers in this DPIN network.
All right, Mark, you talk about node providers. Are we talking about official businesses with thousands of PCs that are decentralized? Will you work with the general population generally? I mean, is that a potential use case where this cloud could sit on your very own users' computers and serve as a D-Cloud, decentralized cloud? How would that work?
So initially, we would work with larger organizations that could offer hundreds of thousands of nodes. And we would like to get quite a few of those to offer their services. And that's what they do. Some of them do that. So there's like the render network where they offer GPUs as a service.
Right.
They have node providers. And we're talking to those kind of node providers to offer these kinds of GPU-based nodes as well as CPU into our network. In the long run, though, we could extend this to anybody that has anything. And the underlying engine, we're going to be bringing out simpler versions which can run on a phone, they can run in a web browser. But initially, we're focusing more on the serious hardware.
Okay, so what is a stupid question, right? Stupid question time from Kieno. Why not just use a normal cloud? Why a decentralized cloud? Is it because of what you said prior to this? The amount of space and money it would take to build these big data centers. Is that the main reason? And is that what you're mitigating?
Yeah, so obviously we could build our own data center, but that would require billions of dollars.
Sure.
So we're not going down that path. We could use like cloud providers, and we do actually work with cloud providers like AWS, Google, Microsoft, and others. But it's harder to manage the complexity of this if we outsourcing the entire cloud infrastructure to another party, because we need to have really close control over the machines. But we can use them. And the way Trickster works is we can actually distribute the load across many different machines. And so we're offering our own D cloud. And that would allow people to operate without even knowing about the cloud. They don't need to have any DevOps capabilities or humans in the loop to even help them set up their infrastructure. It just happens autonomously. So, and that's a key part of what it is. It's autonomous generation of your cloud infrastructure. And that's quite different. If we were working with cloud providers, we'd have to get more intrinsically involved in setting up systems for our customers. So that would be harder. But another really important reason, maybe the main reason, is cost.
Yeah.
We think with node providers, we can offer the costs at 30, 40, 50, even 80% cheaper than the current cloud providers can do. They just can't do it. And so, and we can actually distribute the actual compute across many different machines to even keep the cost really low.
What stops an Amazon or a Microsoft with their Azure from doing something similar?
Nothing. They're doing it right now.
Okay.
They're just doing it in a centralized way, with costly infrastructure. They also offer lots of different services, which we do in a different way to them. So yes, they are a competitor in a way, if you look at it in a certain way, but I think it's different. And also, if you look at like areas like Africa, sub-Saharan Africa, we need to think decentralized. We need to think, how do they actually take advantage of what's happening in the world without having to be centralized? Can they operate their compute through our network? Can they run large language model inference through our network? And can they do it at a cheaper rate and make it really easy for them to do? That's what we want to offer.
Now, this has just hopped into my head, this ADHD Kieno. I read about some African business people wanting to start their own data centers here, right? And they're working very closely with NVIDIA.
Okay.
I'm not sure if you've heard of that, but would you work with the likes of NVIDIA, for example, on the African continent to try and achieve this? Or would NVIDIA already be included, or whatever? Would it be included in the services offered by the node providers themselves?
Yeah. So our system is looking more at like DeepIn, where we have node providers and not necessarily data centers.
Yeah.
But our systems can run in data centers. They can run anywhere. You can even create your own. Say you had a company with 20 people in it.
Yeah.
Each of you could actually contribute your own machine, and we could run on your machines.
Right.
Too. It would be useful for you to interoperate with our DeepIn network, because we have additional services that will actually help the actual business.
But I think the bottom line here, if one just thinks about Trickster OS, it's more than just the decentralization. It is the actual value that you offer. It's me being able to run a smarter business, utilizing my own data. It gets to understand me. It becomes more intelligent, starts giving me some predictive analysis and all sorts of other stuff that I can use
Absolutely.
to differentiate my business, take my business forward a lot more effectively.
Absolutely.
Are there any other bits of value other than what I've mentioned that you're looking to add to this Trickster OS?
So I think I've covered most of it, but the one thing I could say is that every company is very protective of their own data and their own information.
Right.
By being decentralized and running it yourself in a decentralized network, you actually keep all the data in-house effectively. You might still use clouds for certain things. You might still use other services,
Sure.
but you actually have more control over the actual data.
So Trickster itself and your decentralized offering, right? As you said, Trickster itself is decentralized. Is this a potential opportunity for other businesses, SMMEs, to be part of the Trickster value offering, where they become service like Microsoft and AWS have agents and people who use AWS for their own clients. Is this a possibility using Trickster OS where other people would almost resell it?
Yeah, in fact, we're actually speaking to a number of companies right now who are looking to resell Trickster to their customers. So I think that's really important. Another part of this it's unusual, and
Yeah.
I don't think it's been done properly yet. Is anybody that sets up their own business in our deepen network can offer that service to anybody else in that network.
Wow.
So not only can you be a general consultant that can offer services to the people in the network, you can offer your own business through the network to other businesses.
And Mark, obviously talking about Africa and impact, how much of the actual build, you know, everything we've spoken about right now, is actually done in Africa?
Yeah, it's a fair amount of it. We obviously have like an international company, and we use international consultants as well. But a fair amount of work is actually done in Cape Town.
Now, we've got a lot of things happening internationally. Markets are in disarray. People don't know what's going to happen next. You're still in South Africa. You're still operating from here. You have a house in Cape Town. Why?
I do see myself as an international, but I have spent quite a bit of time in South Africa recently, having previously lived in the Bay Area,
Yes.
Silicon Valley.
Yes.
But I really enjoy South Africa. I enjoy the weather. I enjoy Cape Town hugely. And my kids moved back here from the US, and they're establishing themselves at university and school. Yeah, I just really enjoy Africa, and I think the people here are really interesting. There's a really interesting, innovative and entrepreneurial spirit in Cape Town that I like.
So one thing that still bothers me a little bit, Mark, is the education side of it, right? And I've been just thinking about the schools that my kids have gone to, and nothing wrong with academics. You want a doctor who understands medicine, you want engineers who understand engineering. But for me, the future skills side of it still tends to lack on the continent. We're still very much academically driven. I don't know, is that your sense? And as a CEO of a very innovative international business, what do you think we should do as a continent to just put our talent at the forefront, or at least get them to a position where they can jockey to be at the forefront?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's Africa alone. I think the whole world's
Yeah.
traditionally is using an older education model in their
Right.
heads. The old factory floor, sit in the classroom, have the teacher talk to you. If the world's going to change, and I think with the advent of large language models and GPT and that type of thing, I think what's going to happen is people will be able to take advantage of that and actually leapfrog. So I think Africa's going to have a huge advantage actually in being able to utilize these tools and skills and actually leapfrog. And generally in Africa, African companies, African entrepreneurs, they will use the tools that are available to leapfrog, and they have done that before. And I think they will do this really effectively now. In terms of what the schools do,
Yeah.
they will have to change. But it's really hard to know where it's all going.
Yeah.
But I do think that, learning how to collaborate with people and teams, learning how to communicate, learning how to set objectives and go for it. I think those are important skills. And whether you study one degree or another, if you learn those skills, it'll help you in life.
Do you think we'll get to a position where a matric won't even be needed and proof of work will be more important? Maybe. I think a lot of us are there already.
I don't want to get myself into trouble, but stay in school. No, I think
Yeah.
I think it's important to go through the process of school. I think it has many benefits beyond just academics. But academics are important too.
Absolutely.
But I think we need to move away from learning by rote and rather learning by understanding.
I tell you what, Mark, always a pleasure catching up. Mark Levitt, used to live cozily in San Francisco Bay Area, now having an even better life in Cape Town and busy building innovations that not only impact the continent, but the world. So an absolute pleasure having you on the show once again. And once those products officially launch, we need to film it. I want to get a deeper insight into it so that we can actually unpack Trickster OS and what it then would be offering. So Mark, thank you very much for your
Thanks,
time.
Kieno.
That's what it's about, man. Yet another South African, an African, actually. I should stop saying South African. We are Africans doing great things globally. And that really is what the show is about. It's about highlighting people like Mark Levitt, who don't just talk about things, they do it. And in doing, they change the future and the way we experience it. I'll see you on Innovate Africa next week.